better. Helps with the mic on. Peace. Hi, I'm Peter Panagore, yogi, Masters of Divinity degree from Yale in Mysticism, a renegade liberal clergy, mystical misfit, transcendental free thinker, near-death experiencer times two, out-of-body experiencer many times, channeler of the divine, oneness experiencer, pointing to the mystery above and within, soul lover because I am infinitely loved by the beloved. I'm a seeker, just like you. Welcome to my mystical channel where we seek source with a capital S, using many sources from the East and the West, not church, no doctrine, no dogma, no BS, no theology. Deconstructing scriptures to uncover the light within, like we did last week when we explored the Sermon on the Mount through Jesus' own mystical experiences that he talked about, which was by request. Check it out. If there's something that you'd like me to talk about on Sunday morning, let me know in the comments. Thank you. This week, being here now stops the worries by request. And we're going to be looking at Matthew 6:33 to 34 with new eyes from a near-death experience point of view. Mysticism isn't just ethereal, it's applicable, and practical, creating a life balance, a ballast at your bottom, especially as we deal with anxieties and stress. So let's set the tone here and now for a communal time of centering in silence, into stillness, into balance. Distance and time between where I am and when I am and where you are and when you are make no difference here when we center together. This is the mystery, capital M, of the entangled quanta, capital E, capital Q, the entangled quanta of our souls, the now and unchanging, always present. The now is the presence of the divine, the buzz, the vibe. We center ourselves with oneness intention. Basic beginner meditation is simple. Pick a prayer and repeat it. Anytime your mind wanders, just return to your prayer. Ride your prayer gently on your breath, into your belly, up and down. Pause to control your exhalation and continue your prayer chant inside your head as you release your breath up through your nose. It's nasal breathing. In and out. Follow your breath. Set your mind on your prayer. First, let's do 5 ohms, and I want to let you know that I want to know if you like them or not, followed by a time of prayerful meditation. We'll chant together inside of our heads in our centering prayer and our contemplative meditation for a couple of minutes or less. Aim your intention at the ever tranquil, the ever calm, the ever giver of peace. So group meditation, group prayer strengthens the vibration in all of us. That's why we do it together. It transcends time and space. So this is a group effort. The deeper we go individually, the bigger our gains are collectively. So close your eyes, please, and feel the vibration, the vocalization of the Om inside your chest and your throat, and your third eye, and then focus your mind on that vibrational sound you create. Okay, everybody. Oh, and good morning. Good morning to Emily, Wanda, Navid. For real good, Lois. Hey, Lois. David and Anna. Okay, here we go. Starting in the belly, filling the chest. meditation, centering prayer. Repeat your prayer. Being here now stops the worries, what I learned when I was dead. But first, seek her queendom and her righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has its enough trouble of its own, said Jesus. Yeah, I changed the gender for sure. So, how do we face our anxieties and our worries when some of the stuff that we worry about is worth worrying about? So, worry is when we give way to anxiety or unease. We allow our minds to dwell on difficult troubles. Worry occupies space in our minds. It occupies space in our head. It takes up real estate, as people say. Some worries are helpful, especially when those worries help us remember the welfare of others and keep others on our mind. That kind of worry can be a little helpful. But in this way, we share the burden, we share their burden with them. It's like when we attend a funeral and everyone goes to mourn together, and so the grief is shared by the whole community. If only for a time, it makes the burden a little lighter on the one who has had the recent loss. Worry can function that way. It can spread around the burden of care. Reasonable worry for another person's well being keeps them on your mind. And I say reasonable because many worries are just unreasonable. What does worry change? Pretty much nothing. Does worry add a moment to your lives? Asked Jesus. Nope. I was worried all last week for actually 3 weeks, and it didn't help me. I had a health issue that caused me to be ill at ease by taking up space inside my mind and my life. I didn't want to dwell on it, but it haunted my thoughts because I was going to medical tests again and again. And that took up time and space in my life. And all those tests came back negative, which felt like a relief, which meant I was sort of holding my breath for the last 3 weeks and maybe didn't even realize it as I waited for the tests and the results, which means I had anxiety or worry about my personal potential troubles. You know, near death experience doesn't immunize you against worry. It doesn't immunize you against anxiety. It doesn't immunize you against the world because some worry is reasonable. My concern was reasonable, but my worry about my health changed nothing about my health. Not a single bit. It just added stress to me and added anxiety. And because I was living in the future with a concern for what might be, it was unknown what might come next. Sure, I had to think about it just to make sure I had some kind of plan just in case, but I was worrying about things that weren't in reality existing. It wasn't facing my mortality, as somebody asked me last week. Well, were you facing your mortality? Well, no, I've faced my mortality plenty of times before. It was facing my self identity. Some of our worries make us face our self identity. Who am I if my DNA changes my body and it's life altering? Or who am I when someone else's illness changes my life and it's life altering? We all face this. NDEers do too. What we don't face, near death experiencers, we don't face the realization of our mortality. Been there, done that. No fear of death. Ill health beyond our control, or many other major life changing circumstances, like maybe I'm going for extreme here, the loss of a child, or the wreck of a car, or the end of a marriage, or a thousand other sufferings that bring worry and anxiety into our lives, those things over which we have no control sometimes, like climate change or, uh, potential recession, things that are beyond our control. Worrying about these things changes nothing, just adds stress to us. And this is what the mystic Paul says in his Christian, and he's speaking mysticism with a Christian accent here. In his language, he says, "Don't be anxious about anything." Gee, that's very helpful, Paul. Thanks. I'll take that good advice. I won't be anxious about anything. I'll just shut it off. So how do I stop my feelings? Well, that's not really healthy to stop your feelings. And but he goes on. He says, instead, pray about everything. Tell the Creator what you need and thank Source for all that God has done. Pray. Say to God what you need. And does the beloved hear and fix your problems? Has that ever happened to you? Have you prayed about your anxieties and your fears and your worries, and the next day you wake up and they're gone? Has the bluebird of happiness landed on your shoulder that morning, saying, whispering, tweeting in your ear, "I'll take care of that for you"? That so rarely happens. No, instead, the peace of God comes. Prayer is about the peace of God which transcends all understanding and guards our hearts and minds. Guarding our hearts and minds is the power that's found in prayer, in stillness, in silence, because it brings you into the now. If only for the period of time while you're practicing, you're not in anxiety and you're not in stress while you're centering yourself in silence. And that has healing benefits. The near death experiencer, this near death experiencer last week, I went seeking a practical solution for the problem of worry by going to the doctors and anxiety, and found the solution for my quietude, for the dealing with my anxiety. Actually, wasn't getting the news from the doctor, but while I was waiting for that information, I found it in the solution where I always find it. I found it in the ground of my being. And the ballast at the bottom of my life ship that keeps me on the center even in turbulent turmoils of life. I found it deep inside myself by diving deeper in. I've said this to you all before. In great stress, I have found the divine present when I aim my heart within. When I spend some time, some sacred time on a regular basis, diving deep within myself in the midst of my anxieties and worries and troubles, that's where I find my balance. That's where I find my ballast. That's where I find the center of myself and the silence of the stillness. And as much as I could, I did that over the last 3 weeks. I mean, I'm always in the practice. So I always have a baseline of stillness inside myself and peace. And I can tap into that peace, but that doesn't mean it's always pervading my life. Say when I'm inside of an MRI and it's pulsing that electromagnetic radiation into me, and I'm wondering what are they going to find. You know what I did while I was in there for 45 minutes? I meditated. I went deep inside myself and I aimed my mind at the divine and quieted myself and stilled my anxieties and stilled my worries. Those are pretty claustrophobic places if you've ever been headfirst inside an MRI. But if you close your eyes and quiet yourself, whatever stress there is inside your life or just outside it, with meditation and the aiming of your heart, can quiet yourself. Mysticism is practical. It has application in your life in real time. Whenever the mystical Jesus speaks, he speaks from his personal experience. Whenever he talks about seeking first the kingdom of God, the queendom of God, the oneness of being, he's talking about himself. How did he learn this to tell us? Because he went there with his own intent. His wisdom goes deep, and he says, seek home first. Do you feel a loss in your heart, a pull, a longing, a memory of something holy deep inside yourself? Are you feeling wholly unsatisfied in life? Are you feeling like a refugee or an exile from your commonwealth nation of heaven? Living in the mundane and difficult world, this earth of suffering that some say is hell, is it hard? Of course it is. How do you deal with it when a divine that you pray to doesn't give you the gifts that you want? Well, maybe you're asking for the wrong gifts. Has worry gripped you? The teacher says, friend, first of all, in my experience, Jesus says, friend, first of all, in my experience, I seek heaven and strive for heaven. That's why he tells it to us, because he does the same thing. Seeking and striving takes effort and dedication. So, how do we cease from worry? I've already told you. Meditation changes the way we think. We become what we think. We drive our minds and our hearts toward the creator and maker of all, the super intelligence, the big lover. We become what we do. Seeking heaven first is action with fortitude, stick-to-itedness. Striving is effortful. Seeking is action. Seek righteousness, he says. In the midst of turmoil and trouble, seek righteousness. So what is righteousness? Dictionary says righteousness is the quality or state of being morally correct. Righteousness is the quality or state of being morally correct and justifiable. That is not what I found when I was dead, which sounds like an intellectual choice, but I don't think that's what Jesus was talking about or meant. It isn't what you see or hear here on Sunday mornings. Righteousness is a lively thing, a living being. It's that divine presence that you feel inside your heart, in your belly, in your mind. It's a quality or state of being from which morality arises. It isn't the result of morality. It's not the name of morality. The righteousness is the presence itself. It's the buzz, the vibe, the heaven, here and now. Like that crazy light thing that happened last Sunday. That crazy light thing that happened last Sunday was the divine presence itself. The Spirit speaks for itself. And our job is simply to get out of the way. And that's where peace is found. Our job is to get out of the way. And a prayerful life and a regular meditation practice and a time that you set aside for sacredness, that's where you find it. The only thing that stands between me and God is me. And this is what submission means. It means to get out of the way, submit to the righteousness. The righteousness is mystical and it's mystery, manifesting, revealing, transforming, just as mystical Paul describes. It's manifesting, it's revealing, it's transforming. This divine presence is those things. And that's where peace is found, the peace that surpasses all understanding. The divine righteousness was the soul cleanse I went through in my brief hell when I was dead. That's divine righteousness. Forgiveness and finding that I was beloved. Righteousness is just another word for love, which is a word for God. And all these things will be given to you as well. This is all from that quote in Matthew. So what things is he talking about? What gifts? The presence, that's the gift. The righteousness, the heaven, the living being, the light, the strength, vision, courage, ballast, balance, peace, fortitude, drive, love, faith. These are the gifts that come from a heart that is centered on the oneness of being. that aims toward heaven. When you aim toward heaven, in the midst of all the anxiety and the worry, you find heaven and living strength, the light, the vision, the courage, the balance, the peace, the fortitude in order to get through the challenge. All helpfully in the here and now, guiding us through the troubles, balancing us with ballast in the stormy seas of life. Spirit does this. Open your mind, open your heart, and see for yourselves. Don't take my word for it. A meditative life of centering prayer manages. It's a management tool for anxiety and worry. It is. The buzz from above provides those greater gifts heaven sent to help us. So, how do we manage our anxiety and stress? Tell me how you do yours. Let me know in the comments. Tell me if meditation helps you. Tell me if the silence that you tap into gives you strength in order to face whatever stress has caused you anxiety. Tell me if it manages your anxiety in your life. Next week, I'm thinking about talking about judging others. Hey, no judgment, people say. So I'd like to talk about judging and judgment. Is that something that interests you? Something you want to talk about? Let me know in the comments. Tell me if that interests you. And therefore, says Jesus, because of these gifts, I don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself because of the gifts of the divine that come from prayer. Each day has its own trouble. Focus on the now. Make room for the feeling of peace that surpasses understanding. Make room inside yourself. The only one in your way is you. The only one in my way is me. Make peace inside yourself. Blessed are the peacemakers we talked about last week. Make peace inside yourself. Peace. So, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and thanks for all your gifts of support, large and small, that keep this mission, not church, coming to you here and now every single Sunday, and for hundreds to hundreds of others for free. I've started a new series of short videos called Questions and Answers. I hope you like it. I hope you let me know. Your feedback is always welcome. I'm good with critique. I hope it's all helpful. There's a link in the description below to my most recent one, if I remember to put it in there. If not, just go to my YouTube and check out peterpanagore.love for ways to give support, and look for the spinning little red heart on the homepage. So you can join us for Zoom at the top of the hour, where we have these wisdom weekly conversations called Mystic Tea Salon. That link I know is definitely below in the in the uh, in the description. And I find my stillness practice calms me in my worries. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for your gift this morning. Appreciate it. How I find that my centering prayer practice calms my worries and my anxieties while I'm practicing it, and it builds up an inner ballast of balance inside me for when I'm not practicing it. When I practice it every day, it fills my day with peace. And as I practice it over a lifetime, it fills my life with peace. And even though I was anxious and worried last week, I still had this deep, peaceful balance inside me. It at least gave me the center point of my life in order for my inner eye to see the divine. Even if I was worried about my health, which it turns out I shouldn't have been. That's the beauty of it. It didn't fix my problem, but it gave me the strength to be calm in the midst of it. So tell me how your meditation life calms your worries or anxieties in the comments below. Peace be with you. Let the peace that surpasses all understanding be in your hearts and your minds every day, especially when you have anxieties and worries. Amen. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, sister. Thanks, Tamara. Thank you all for the super chats this morning. Yeah, thank you all for being here this morning. I'm going to take a look at the chat over here. Pop off my glasses so I can see it a little bit better. And oh, you're going to go back to the beginning, Cal, and take a listen. Cool. Kristen, I do I do good for the 30 minutes afterwards, but then my worry is the antidote for peace. Yeah, that's totally true. When your mind gets trained into the words of your prayer, your mantra, your chant, you can bring those back when the worries start to take over during the day. So when you start to get very anxious, even though it leaves you with a little bit of peace every morning, you're also burning into your subconscious those words, the prayer of yours, and everyone's able to then bring it up to the forefront of your mind and take a few breaths, just a few, to calm yourself down again. It does build an undergirding, a basement, a foundation of peace inside yourself. It does take time, but you can also use it during the day when it starts to get too much. Just take a moment, stop what you're doing, and breathe and calm. And meditate just for a couple of breaths. Feel the calm return. It's cumulative over a lifetime, too. It builds up inside you. And so that the more you practice it over the longer period of time that you practice it, the more peace that you have access to throughout the day. That's how it works. My problem with judgment is I always seem to feel others are judging me. Low self esteem. I'd love to hear your feelings about judgment both ways. Can do, Christine Kirby. Can do. Thanks for saying that. When I notice stress and worry, I realize that I haven't been focusing on breathing, says Beth. Yes, stress and worry. Focus on your breathing, focus on your breath. It makes a huge difference. I know it sounds super simple and very mechanical, but that is just the way it works. It's super simple and mechanical. Also, in addition to being mystical and mysterious, it's also mechanical and biological. Thank you for the loving guidance and friendship. You're welcome, Tamara. You can relate, MG, Margie. Great. I'll touch on that next week. I mostly don't care what people think of me, says Cal Extra. Well, that's cool. That is awesome because that's one less anxiety. That's one less worry. Worry draws us to the divine for grounding and lays us open for transformation of the situation. Thanks, Karen Elise. Beautiful. I went through a similar health scare last year, finding this group, and you helped me tremendously. Thanks, Summer, for saying so. I'm glad you're here. I try to give worry to God to work out something good, says Helen. That is a form of the same thing we're talking about. Give your worries over to God. Repeat them. I give this to you. 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 And God accepts. Thank you, TJ. Best church I've ever been. No church I've ever been to. Oh, thanks, JT. Thank you. Peace, brother. Um, Acceptance is key to all my problems today. Well, that's what we were talking about, Tamra. It is acceptance of the here and now, being where you are, being where you are, in what you are, in the now, connected to the divine. That is the way. And as we live through our daily life, it's reconnecting to that place when worry and anxiety overcome us because they're real. Okay, anxiety isn't just this thing that happens emotionally. There's a biochemical thing that happens too, as I understand it. Um, so we're working with the body here, but we're the mind working with the body, and the mind has a lot of power. Suffering isn't so much what happens to you; it's what you think about it, right? Other than the wound of your hand. Um, how we think about our circumstance creates our anxieties and our worries. We are what we think, right? After all, that is so true. So, this kind of practice helps you control what you think and therefore control what you are. That's the amazing thing of it, because it controls your response to these outside stimuli. What you resist persists. So true. So true. When I am present, I allow God to flow through me and experience life within me, says Lupe Rod 33. Exactly, Lupe. This is so true. When I present, when I am present, I allow God to flow through me and experience life with me. That is the power of the mystery of the divine. That is the power of the focus and the centering of the now. Lupe nailed it. When you allow the presence to be with you, when you allow the presence to be with you, the flow flows through us and it unmoors us from the world just enough by attaching us to the divine. Alfred, thank you, Alfred. That's very kind of you. I thank you very much for your support, everybody. You know, Not Church, we're here. I'm here each week because of you guys, and I'm trying to help. In 2 weeks from now, and I'll announce this next week. In 2 weeks from now, I'm going to have a pre-recorded video on Sunday morning. Don't miss it. But I'm going to be at my niece's wedding. So on that Sunday, I'll still be at the family wedding. But it will have Not Church 2 weeks from now, and we'll have it next week too. We'll have it every week. But I wanted to give you a heads up on that. Until I can accept everyone's places and things exactly as the way they are, this moment for the moment, I can find no peace. This is wisdom. Yeah, I think what you're saying, Tamara, is to accept what's right in front of you. I think Paul, in one of his better mystical moments, was talking about um, thank God for all things. Maybe someone can help me with this quote: the good and the bad. That's essentially what he means. And being in the present now with the bad, being in the present now with the good, it sort of makes all things peaceful. It makes all things peaceful. We might not like the bad, but if we practice being in the present with the good and we practice being in the present with the bad, then this peace develops as a through line through our lives. A through line through our lives. Sometimes I'm stuck in a thought loop fearing being judged, so I end up judging others negatively. That is another, Robin, that's another wonderful thing about meditation is it interrupts thought loops. It breaks down those calcified stories that we tell ourselves. We can just by training our minds in a repetitive prayer, a chant, a mantra, that runs in a tape loop in the back of our heads, we can bring that up to the forefront and run it like a wedge into those other thoughts, into those other stories we tell ourselves about um, being feared of being judged. You can interject the prayer into that. And for the time that you're actually interjecting that prayer into those thoughts, they cease to exist. And if you do this over and over again, you break the pattern. You break the pattern. You break the pattern. I've done this in my own life. Um, Thank you for supporting Peter's work. Tamara, I think that's sweet of you to say that. Thank you, Navitab. Naviatab. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Um, Caught in the tail end seems good. Morning from San Diego. Hey, Cindy, over there in San Diego. Say hi to my cousins out there in San Diego, and I have a dear friend out there too. And what a great place. I find judgment frustrating. It feels like people wield it as an excuse to shut down empathy. Yeah, see, humility is all about seeing yourself in perspective to the divine, not to others. And when people use judgment as a weapon, it's because they have elevated themselves above the other. I'm better than you. I get to judge you. Uh, Judges' benches are often high up in the courtroom. That gives the symbol, the sign of the authority of the judges above you. That's what everybody does when we judge each other. We rise above others. I'm better than you. I get to judge you. Who's the real power in the world or in the universe? Not me. One of the famous things Jesus says is like, hey, man, who made me judge? Not my job. Meditation life has so many applications. I know I say this over and over again, but it's crazy, but it is. It does. It's got all these applications. Um, focus on self. Yeah, focus on self. Well, my friends, I see the chat has quieted down a bit. I see we have 70 folks here this morning, 31 likes. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for subscribing. Do subscribe, do like it. Check out the description, and I meant to put up that video of my recent little shorts. Tell me what you think of those video shorts that I'm doing, because they're fun for me. They're called Q&A, public Q&A. People write questions to me all the time. I spent a day a week, a day, sometimes 2 days a week, in correspondence with people. And so I've decided to use some of the questions and put them up there, but they're always anonymous. I never tell anybody's name, so don't worry about that. Dear Peter, love anonymous. Uh, Judges say I don't have to care because you've done something, you deserve it. Well, you know, deserve, not deserve. Uh, you know, I think of all, I think of all the people in prison for cannabis. Did they deserve that? Now it's legal. They're still in jail. Do they deserve that? No, they do not. That was a racist thing that happened in our country. That was one way to imprison people. Um, Jeez, did they deserve it? No. Does someone deserve cancer? Even if they smoked, do they deserve cancer? That's just the result of smoking. It's not you deserve cancer. Do you deserve to lose your child? No, you don't deserve. Do you deserve to wreck your car? Do you deserve to fail your test? Well, if you fail your test because you're not studying, maybe, but maybe it's because you have ADHD and dyslexia, or you can't, or you didn't get any sleep last night. Who knows? Because there was a fight in the family. People are so quick to judge. They're so fast to judge, and instead of seeing their own brokenness and their own humanity, well, wow, yeah. When it seems when I am willing to sit in the darkness of a situation, I am nourished as a new grounding. Karen, Elise, right on. You sit in the darkness of a situation, you sit with the peace inside yourself. You sit with the darkness of it and you find peace inside yourself. You become capable of understanding your own infinity, the connection to infinity. Do you live cast on other platforms other than YouTube? Lori, no, I don't at the moment. I think I stream on my website, but it's off of YouTube, and I stream on Facebook, but it's off of YouTube. It's a technology that I'm going to develop, or rather use when I upgrade my computer, when I have better tools. Right now, I don't have the tools that make it easy for me to um, simulcast. But if I were to simulcast, Laurie, what platforms would you like to see me on? Drop me a note. Let me know. Thanks for asking. Love the Q&A. Oh, cool. Thanks, Kristen. Um, the Q&A have been great. That's a gem. Thanks, Beth. Cool. I'll keep that up. I am a judger of YouTube and other big tech. Well, what we're not talking about here is we're not talking about making aesthetic judgments. I make aesthetic judgments all the time, and I judge whether I like the taste of rutabaga or not. That's not what we're talking about, but you made me laugh. Yeah. If reincarnation, pardon me, and I got enough sleep last night too, crazy yawn. If reincarnation is true, then the 100 lives I've already lived could be filled the same sin we persecute others for. This helps me with forgiving others. That's cool. You know, my sin's better than yours. My sin's better than yours. My sin gets me into heaven when yours gets you down to hell. That's kind of the way judging people think inside their heads. Because one of the things they talk about, and I think Paul talks about it, is anger and jealousy are sins, on par with some other stuff. So, and hatred. And so all these people who are walking around with hatred in their heart and anger in their heart and jealousy in their heart, and they're judging others for their sexuality, their gender, or their belief systems or their politics or whatever it happens to be, you know, what do you say to that? Look at yourself. Get the the log out of your own eye before you get the wood chip out of the other person, says Jesus. Yeah, it's crazy. We'll talk more about judging next week too. This is all good stuff though. Um, Rokefin is great for live casting. Sam Tripoli and many others are on there. Oh, Sam invited me to Rokefin. And I should take a look at that, Lori. Sam invited me the other night. I did a great broadcast with Sam Tripoli. I was on it. I think I was on his show Zero this week, and then I was on his one of his other shows. I don't remember which one it was by name. Um, but he mentioned to me Rokefin. Thanks, Lori. I'll check into that. It was wicked late at night when he interviewed me. I think it was 1 in the morning, and I went to bed that night earlier this week. And I knew that he said that to me, but I couldn't quite, like in the morning, remember exactly what he said. But thanks, I'll check it out. Rokefin, cool. Hey, did you come to Not Church through Sam Tripoli? Just asking. Um, he's a great interview, by the way. Yes, I listened to your Q&A shorts. Thanks, Margie. Can you talk about what you do when your pain body overtakes your meditation? Is there a way to get rid of it through a chakra? So yeah, um, with particular kinds of pain, okay? Not with all pain, but with particular kinds of pain, you can uh, rise above your pain with meditation. And when I say so, in emotional pain, unless it's incredibly overwhelming, and worry and anxiety, you can enter into the peace and silence by repeating your prayer because when you enter into the stillness, you stop the story that you're telling yourself about your pain. Um, so that's one way to do it. But when you're talking about physical pain, if you aim your mind and your breath, say for instance, I had lower back pain, just say for instance, and my back's killing me, and I don't know what to do about it. If I lie down flat on the floor and I use my breath and I aim my mind right at the pain itself and I breathe into the pain. I aim my mind and my breath right into the pain. I rise above the pain. And it's a practice that you can use um, because it's easy to learn. You don't need lots of practice to be able to do that thing, to aim your mind at your pain. You just look at it. I mean, your pain's screaming at you anyway, right? So you just look at where the scream's coming from inside your body, the physical pain, and you breathe into it and you focus your mind on it. Now, it doesn't get rid of the pain after you stop meditating. It does get rid of the pain while you're meditating. And in terms of shaking out the pain out of my body, um, I find that meditation, when I'm in a lot of pain for a lot of long periods of time, and I've been in a lot of pain for a long period of time, I find that meditation really helps. I just keep meditating. Can I expel the pain? Not the physical pain, but I can dissipate the emotional pain by observing the emotional pain, even though I recognize I'm like, oh, this is heartache. Oh, this is sorrow. Oh, this is sadness. Oh, this is worry. Just by looking at them and naming them, they lose power. They lose some power over me because I sort of rise above them and see them as an emotional response inside my body, not necessarily who I am. And I hope that helps a little bit. I haven't been able to expel pain out of me, though. You would be amazing with my own podcast. Oh, well, thank you, Sommer. People keep telling me I should have a podcast. I really honestly don't know what I would do with it. I kind of figure what I'm doing here is kind of a podcast. Would I be interviewing people? What do you think? I need help. Let me know. Yes, I found you on Sam and Friends show, Union of the Unwanted. Oh, that was cool. And have shared you with some of my friends too. Thanks, Laura. Union of the Unwanted. That was quite a night. There was like 15 people or 16 people on the screen that night. And quite the conversation. It was maybe 3 hours long. And yeah, it was cool. Thanks for telling me that. I appreciate it. I'll tell Sam when I talk to him, if I talk to him again, which I think I will because he's invited me on his next show. Just haven't scheduled it yet. Um, Yes, found you on Sam. Oh, yes. Project your mind full of love and light and take the light and take it to that area and focus there, Tamara says. That's good advice. Just imagine pink, healthy, elastic cells filling with light, says Tamara. Be with the pain fully. Amen to that. Good advice. I think the pain is somewhat better afterwards because you know you can have some influence over it, says Primary Feathers. I think so. That's so helpful, Cindy G. Yes, Primary Feathers, says Kristen. I would love a podcast from me, says Terry. I do a lot of breathing. Thank you, Tamara. I'm thinking about it. Um, I do a lot of breathing through physical pain. When I'm not in meditation, I keep the mantra going. That is, my body is in pain, but I'm not. It's hard though. Yeah, Beth. It takes a lot of effort. There's no doubt about it. It's not a cure all, but it does work, and it takes mental presence. You have to be present to it. Mm, Sorry. Little bit of a yawn there. You have to be present to it. Um, you have to be present to it. Is there anything wrong with meditating while you're lying down? No, there's nothing. I mean, Shavasana and yoga, that's what they do. Shavasana and yoga when you're lying flat on your back. No, you can meditate when you're lying down. I tend to fall asleep when I meditate when I lie down. And so when I'm in Shavasana in a yoga studio, for instance, I usually sit up and kneel. But that's just me. But yeah, you can meditate lying down. Definitely. I like how you minister and encourage and not church and mystic teas. Thanks, Margie. Because we're all in this together, you know. Spirituality is oh, and teach. Thanks. Spirituality, mysticism. Everybody who has a mystical experience has access to the divine. You know, the divine has touched you, and it leaves you with a residual wisdom. Maybe if it's only about that one particular thing, but it's always about one particular thing. That's the way it works. It's you get that thing, um, and now you have wisdom. Wisdom with a capital W from the divine is not something that you think your way into. It's something that comes as a result from the divine touching you and leaving a mark inside you. And that's why I face not church and Mystic Tea Salon as a community effort because everybody who comes has wisdom with them. Everyone who comes has wisdom with them. That's the way it works. If you've been touched by the divine, period. Or some wisdom is just accumulated over a lifetime of living. So I've met plenty of very octogenarians who've not had mystical experiences, and yet they've got a lot of wisdom just because they live so long. So there's that wisdom too. It fits me. Oh, thanks. Well, my friends, it's almost 10 minutes of. I finally got a widget up on my computer screen that shows me the clock, which makes it super easy for me to. Oh, right, I could get a widget. I've got a widget up there. It's almost 10 minutes of. We're kind of quieted down over here in the chat today. I want to thank everyone for coming and liking the video and subscribing, and for the super chat and for all your support. Appreciate it very much. Make comments. Let me know what you think about the video. Let me know about the questions that I asked. Um, I'm here. Reach out to me, peterpanagore.love, counseling sessions. I'm available. Oh, before I go, I think a podcast is a brilliant idea. I've thought about doing one for a long time now. It seems a bit overwhelming, but the thought of being able to have a platform to share would be great. I think it's a great idea too, Benjamin. I'm just not sure what I could add to the general discussion. There's a lot of people talking in near death experiencers. You're welcome, Wanda. You're welcome, Aaron. So what would be my thing, What would be the thing that I would do every week? I've started listening to a podcast this week on linguistics. I can't do that. Anyway, everybody, I'll see you in a few minutes at Mystic Tea Salon. Peace and love to everybody. Thank you for being here. You love these sessions. Thanks, Resistance Traveler from way down under in Australia where it's deep and dark night. Peace and love to you all. Namaste. Peace and love. See you soon. You would add you. All right, friends. I'll see you in a few minutes over at Mystic Tea Salon. Peace and love.